Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. I hope you're doing good indeed. Today, we have the pleasure of having Martin Kepman, the CEO of Manganese X. Martin, first of all, a very warm welcome, and it's a great pleasure to have you.
Well, thank you very much for having us here, and I'm very excited to be able to talk about manganese and our progress into the manganese market.
Brilliant, Martin. Do you want to tell us first and foremost to retail investors out there, potential and current shareholders, perhaps, or those who are watching for the first time, what is Manganese X? What do you guys do? In what different verticals are you currently operating?
Great question. Thank you very much for asking that question. First of all, we're a publicly listed company called Manganese X. We are listed basically on 3 exchanges, one in Canada on the venture, one on the over-the-counter in the States, and various exchanges in Europe. And we're really well followed, and we're really excited. We have a great following, and we get a lot of investor comments on where we're going. So what is our purpose? Good question. The purpose is we have a great manganese property located in Woodstock, New Brunswick, 1,200 hectares, 56 claims, and it's strategically located right near the main border. What's our product? Our product is manganese. And what's our mission? Our mission is to be the first North American mining company to produce high purified manganese for the EV and backup storage energy markets. That's what we want to do, and we're really progressing well. And of course, just to add something about our company, it's got to be the reason why we chose manganese, and we started the company in 2016 because we were looking for an environmentally friendly, zero emissions, carbon-free footprint product. We saw this manganese, we were ahead of our curve, and we went full-fledged in to get that manganese, and we have it now. We're really in very good stages, getting closer and closer to production.
Excellent. So let's talk a little bit. Like, what is manganese? Why is it so important? And why is it important to be mining it in North America? Maybe discuss that a little bit of its importance.
Okay, fantastic. That's a great question. Why is it important to mine it in North America? Well, first of all, as you probably know, like there's been so many gigafactories opening up recently in North America, such as Tesla. As you probably know, General Motors is opening in Detroit with $17 billion investment. Ford is opening up. As a matter of fact, something interesting happened with Ford that I read a couple of days ago is that they want to produce EV cars and trucks and everywhere and export it into Europe. So that's a very interesting challenge. Volkswagen is doing the same thing. I just read it's just the whole EV market is exploding. It's incredible what's going on there. Now they want to make lawnmowers EV and everything EV, so every day, the more I read, the more it's moving into EV production. And secondly, with the advent of in 2045, they're going to stop producing combustible cars, especially India and China. And in Quebec here, they're going to do it in 2035, and it's probably going to be sooner. Everything looks so exciting for manganese and the production, especially for North America. And just one more thing, I'm getting too excited about it now. The thing is, when they're buying the EV products, the manganese products, which is ultra high purity, there's some contaminants in there that the foreigners are putting in. And we are very excited to have produced so far our MnSO4 99.95% product without contaminants. And that's a very key green, environmentally stable product that we want to produce.
So is manganese basically, are they substituting that for things such as cobalt and all that, because cobalt is kind of expensive? Like, do you know that the process for the batteries a little bit?
What a great question. Thank you. What's gone on is, I'll just give you a little bit of background what's gone on. Normally at Tesla, they were doing NMC batteries, which are nickel, manganese, and cobalt. Mm-hmm. Previously, there was 10% manganese in the product, okay? And as you know, Cobalt is very volatile, and they had problems in the Congo with all the human rights problems, and it's trading like at $47,000 a ton right now, cobalt. Manganese is trading at $1,700 a ton. And they have found, so what happened was in their recent Tesla day in September, they have just come out with a new battery that now has 33% manganese and 66% nickel. And they proved, first of all, the costs have gone down, I think, from $6,000, don't quote me, to about $3,000 because of that. And manganese has proven that it has greater density, more robustness, and they can get longer distance on the mileage for the battery or the kilometers. So it has such exciting positive characteristics. So a lot of companies now, Volkswagen also just announced about a month ago that they're going with the manganese nickel battery also. So it's very, very exciting.
Excellent.
Thank you so much, Martin. Obviously, we thank you so much for your in-depth information that you're giving us with regards to the battery chemistry and how important it is. And I agree with you, because Tesla is going to be using that new battery for Tesla semis that are going to be coming out, and they
Yes.
need and require high-density batteries, which is very crucial. And that's exactly why Hammy and we've been talking about the importance of manganese and some of these rare earth minerals as we go forward. You know, we're going to have batteries that are going to be charged quickly, that they use a different chemistry, but we're going to have a million-mile battery that's going to be using a 33% manganese composition in the battery. Now, a lot of these EV markets are going to be outside of North America. Are you, two questions I have. First, this one. Are you looking to perhaps export manganese outside of North America? And also, America has been, the US, especially with President Biden, has been talking about localizing the supply chain for these EV batteries within the continent. And obviously, eyes are going to be looking at Canada as a good source of rare earth minerals. Are you going to be perhaps exporting to the US and even to a country like China, where it's the largest EV market?
Fantastic question. Okay, you know, it's really ironic that we're doing the interview today, because we just came out with a major news release that we just awarded our PEA, which is a preliminary economic assessment, which basically says either we make or break the company. I'll just make it in simple terms, which means it's an economic and commercialized evaluation of our product, which is really an unbelievable high-grade MnSO4, which is manganese sulfate, which is a precursor to the cathode, which goes into the cathode. And the reason why, I'll just go back without going into it, is that because of our high purity rate, it does not go into the cathode and erode the cathode. Just for your viewers' interest, there's something called sililium. And 98% of all MnSO4s that are really produced in China have sililium, and sililium is toxic. And we are definitely not including sililium in our product. So that's a little very important factor. So that's going to be interesting. So the thing is that we have to do this PEA. This is going to tell us whether we can produce it. From the way we are assessing our metallurgical and our processes and our flow sheets and our costing, just from preliminary, it looks very exciting. It looks like we're going to be able to produce it cost effective. But don't quote me on that, please. But it looks very promising. We're also, there's also developing a provisional patent in our metallurgical to eliminate certain processes in our purification. And another interesting part is we're getting something called an 85% recovery rate from our manganese after approximately 85. It may come to 80. We're just finishing up, but so far preliminary indication shows that we have 85% recovery rate, which is a very, very positive rate for commercialization. So we're excited. So here we go. So let me get back to the question. If we can get this PEA positive, we have the North American markets and possibly European markets and Chinese markets because of our high value product without the contaminants. So there we go. I hope I didn't talk too long on that one.
No, thank you so much for the insight, Martin. I think us and also potential or current shareholders really appreciate your insight. So thank you so much. I know Hammy has a list of questions to ask you.
Yeah, can you give us some details on the? I think you're gonna have to help me with the pronunciation, but is it Grapheno? Or
Graphano.
Spinoff? Graphano. Okay, the Graphano spinoff and the shares as well as the property and what you're looking at for.
Okay, that's a great question. You know, Graphano and myself are very familiar because 5-6 years ago I went up to that property. It's a graphite property. It's large flake property, which is very, very positive. It's contiguous to Timcal Emirates, which is the only producing graphite company in North America, which is incredible. They say on their website they produce like 15,000 tons of graphite, high purity spherical graphite, and it's processed in the Terrebonne, Quebec, which is like 90 kilometers away. I walked on the property, and lo and behold, guess what? Their entrance was on our property at Lac-Beaulieu in Quebec. So in order for them to get into the mine, they had to go through our property. So that's very encouraging. It's also something called contiguous, which means that the mineralization flows from one property to another. They've done some drillings on it, and it looks very promising. And especially what's going on now with graphite, and there is a shortage of graphite, world demand. So if we can possibly expedite the mineralization of graphite there in the next 2 or 3 years, it looks very, very promising. It looks extremely promising. And what's gone on is last week we had a special shareholders meeting about Grapheno to get shareholders acceptance. It's called Graphano, I'm sorry. Shareholder acceptance to spin off the company and do a dividend. It was unanimously accepted. So we're just waiting for TSX Venture to give the okay for the new co. And upon acceptance, then the manganese shareholders will receive for every 8 shares that they hold of Manganese X, they will receive one dividend, newly free dividend of Graphano. So it's very exciting. I know it's taking a little longer, but now we're waiting for TSX the approval of the deal.
Excellent. And so how, like, in terms of exploration, like how far along are you on these properties for manganese and Graphano?
On manganese? Are we talking manganese first?
Yeah, on manganese first, yeah. And then
sure, let's talk about that. Yeah. Okay, the exploration. Well, in February, we just completed another very successful drill program with our Vice President of Exploration, Terry McKinnon, and Roger Don, who've been working with us since 2016, who are really, really experienced. We did 27 holes of 4,600 meters. It was very successful. It's near surface. Most of the mineralization is near surface. It's open pit. We got some really good mineralization. And altogether, we spent like $4 or $5 million in 2016 on the exploration programs. So we've done approximately 96 holes at 5,400 meters. So we spent a lot of money. We put our money where our mouth is with the drilling program. So that's where we are with the drill program. But I just want to reiterate something very interesting, what I learned, because, I was a newcomer when I came in here in 2016. And the fact is that without metallurgical and without being able to process those minerals, and we have about 50 minerals included in our manganese, which is a carbonate. And that I can get into another story. It's just not an oxide, it's a carbonate. So we had to separate by leaching the carbonate. It's a very interesting aspect about how the metallurgical goes. And if you cannot break it down properly and refine it economically, the game's all over. So the whole key with our PEA and hiring Woods, which is one of the world's foremost consulting and engineering companies, is to be able to economically break down the metallurgical processes. And I have to say, we have been working with Chemetco Research out of Vancouver for the last 4 years, and they're spectacular. They've done miracles with our metallurgical. So that's it.
Excellent. And another hot theme that gets thrown around, I don't know, loosely or not loosely, is this idea of a commodity super cycle. Now, I think you have quite a bit of experience, obviously, in mining with the manganese and everything. So can you give us your thoughts a little bit on what you're seeing in terms of the commodity super cycle that could possibly be forming, or just give us your thoughts on that?
Okay, great question. So at Manganese X Energy Corp, we've done some research about that because, that's the name of the game, is manganese. And basically there weren't that many companies around that really understood manganese. So the demand for manganese this is the estimated demand by the experts, is like 23% over the next increase compoundedly over the next 10 years. But I really believe personally, and it's only my personal opinion, it's going to skyrocket much higher. We have all the household batteries are using manganese, all the disposable batteries, all the zinc oxide are using manganese in the batteries. That's another aspect, and they're being utilized in chemicals, fertilizers, all this stuff. But the boom to EV and to backup storage is tremendous. It's increasing every day. I don't think when they did that survey, I really personally don't, they never took that into incorporation about that. So it's just booming, and I foresee there's going to be definitely a bigger demand for manganese, and the commodity price only can go up, not down, because there's a major increase in the demand for manganese. So we're very excited about that, extremely excited about that.
Yeah, and I think even beyond EVs, I mean, manganese is also used to strengthen steel as well. So
yes,
when we talk about,
exactly. Ferrous.
Coming out of the pandemic, you see every single government around the world is going to lean on infrastructure and building to drive their economies. So just the demands on infrastructure and steel alone is a huge market for manganese as well. Maybe you can comment on that too.
Exactly, but the name of where I'm laughing because I'm sort of chuckling because of the fact that our company is basically focused, in the EV and backup storage milieu, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we can't supply steel makers, with ferrous manganese. It's called ferrous manganese because of the flexibility of Chemetco research. They brought it up. It's amazing. They brought it up to 99.95% purity out of 100. And when we asked them for it, they said it was practically impossible. So like we're doing this process. And another thing is that we've got something called a carbonate manganese. Basically, the majority of all the manganese in the world are oxides. Okay. So what they have to do is they have to take, and our manganese is like a charcoal carbonate, okay? So what they basically have to do, the competitors like in China and all around, it's an oxide where they have to take it out of the ground, and then they have to roast it for 8 hours with electricity, okay? And then after they got that into an oxide, they have to turn it into a sulfate. We have something very unique, which the world hasn't really understood yet, is that we have a carbonate that goes right directly into a sulfate. Mm-hmm. And there's major cost savings, and that's where we're going to be patenting our process in the future. We haven't really discussed that yet because we want to do a provisional patent on it and then tell the world what we're doing.
Excellent. Go ahead, Sean.
Martin, I also wanted to ask you about your partnerships. Do you have any partnerships established, or do you have any partnerships in the pipeline that would be announced? And without getting you in trouble with the securities, but just to give potential shareholders and shareholders just
Are
an
you
idea.
Talking first of all about Purebiotics or in the manganese?
In the manganese.
Yes, we have an NDA with one of the largest cathode companies in Europe, where we've had an NDA for the last 2 or 3 years, and we can't announce it, where they're going to be helping us with MnSO4, which is a manganese sulfate. But I'm not trying to be too presumptuous. However, we've been doing very well with it right now. We haven't really used them yet, but we definitely have a signed NDA with them. and they're one of the biggest cathode distributors in Europe. Okay, and we've had other conferences. We've had calls for some people in Quebec, which we may announce soon with their permission. We've had also where they probably are interested in financing us, and also we've had a lot of other calls talking about financing. But it comes down to one thing, the proof is in the pudding. So we need that PEA. Once we got the PEA, which is preliminary economic assessment, then everything changes. Like we've got many calls, many investors, but we're saying, listen, we want to see if we can actually do it commercially and economically viable. And then we'll talk. But so far, so good. How's that?
Excellent.
Brilliant.
Well,
We are
let's talk
looking forward to it.
Yeah, let's talk about the patented HVAC air quality management that you're working on. Maybe I think that's another important aspect of your business. So can you touch on that a little bit and give us an update?
Yeah, it's very exciting. With pleasure. It's like one of our pet projects. All right. So it all started off like we had a 100% owned subsidiary called Disruptive Battery Corp. And what I'll just give you a little history. What happened was Disruptive Battery Corp. Since we were producing or trying to produce a manganese product, high purity, we were looking for some different types of battery technologies that we could invest. We looked at it, and then all of a sudden, lo and behold, this HVAC patent air disbursement unit came to us. They offered us the patent. It was a U.S. patent, and we did some research, and we found it very, very interesting, very effective. And of course, it falls under the domain of green energy, and also with the COVID, we really figured for humanity and the world, what's going on, there could be a possibility that we can maybe change some of the environment with HVACs. So we ended up buying the patent, and then we needed something called a mister or a mister to go into the air disbursement unit. We needed a liquid. We needed something that we had to put in there to be able to purify the air, to make it simple, okay? That would mitigate or slow down the viruses or the bacterias or the pathogens, whatever it was. So what happened was we went around and we looked around for 2 or 3 months to find the product that was going to go into that HVAC air disbursement unit. It's really also called an air purifying unit. And lo and behold, we found a company called Purebiotics in Orlando, Florida. Mr. Lino G. Morris, who was a contagious disease expert for over 25 years in this area. So we met with him. We met with him with Zoom, and we talked. And he showed us it's all organic products. And he showed us our products. And me being I've done a lot of R&D in my time. We did a lot of research, and we found that he had done some very interesting hospital tests that went ahead and validated what he was talking about, and his product showed unbelievable potential. So, however, it wasn't FDA approved. So what's going on is, and it's not Dr. Lino G. Morris also has had extensive work with the FDA, and he's worked with them for many years. So he has a lot of good connections in there. So what happened was we arranged the testing of the product at Virginia State University, which is one of the most recognized universities in the States to do this testing to validate the concept. And should this be successful, and so far we're moving forward with it, we would want to apply for FDA certification. So what's going on is I can get into a long story about the biofilm, but I won't. So right now we're just in the midst of testing, and we're expecting to get some really interesting results, especially about bacteria and viruses, to include COVID-19 on that. And they're progressing, and they've got what they're going to do right now is they've got this very, very expensive microscope where they're going to be filming slow motion, the breakdown of the viruses on the bacteria with biofilm. So we want to validate that. And so far, we're getting some optimism, and we're just waiting back for some test results, which we hope we'll get within 2 to 4 weeks.
Excellent. Yeah, I think in terms of, air quality and health moving forward, even beyond COVID, I think, it's kind of an important aspect. If we're going to get back into normal life and working in offices and all that stuff, I think, air quality is going to be hugely important. So I think it's an exciting development.
Incidentally, I just want to interrupt you for a second. Virginia State works very closely with the FDA, and they would not take the project if they didn't think it was viable. Right. And secondly, Lena Morris worked with them on previous projects, and it was very successful. So that's why they took it. So really, to get into Virginia State and do this type, the viewers don't really understand this, is really a big accomplishment for us. And we're 50% joint venture partners with Purebiotics Air Corp. We're a 50-50 now partnership with them, joint venture.
Awesome.
Brilliant. Martin, congratulations on your achievement so far. We know you're a passionate man about what you do, and you have an in-depth understanding. Sometimes CEOs are not fully aware of the field that they're working in, but we do appreciate, I'm sure shareholders also appreciate your in-depth understanding of the field and the space and your passion. It's great. And again, congratulations on the feasibility study, the news that you had this morning as well. Hamid, do you have any final questions before we wrap this up with Martin?
Yes.
No, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead and talk.
No, I was just going to say, it's really eye-opening to hear, the importance of manganese and where EVs are going, and the supply constraints and all that. So I really appreciate the insight. So maybe if you had, a couple final words for the retail investors, and why you think you should invest in Manganese X, and we can leave it there.
Okay, the whole mission when we took over the company, and we have a fantastic team working with us, because first of all, I cannot say that I did it myself. There's no way. I don't take recognition. I just say that the team that we have is spectacular, and I'm very excited to work with them and love them all. Secondly, when I took over this company, I had invested in a lot of junior mining companies and had some very negative experiences with them. And I said what my prime purpose was to enhance shareholder value. And that's what we're trying to do. As people probably know, on our website, www.manganesexenergycorp.com, there's a phone number up there, and that's my cell number. And we take calls. I get hell every time because I'm very busy, but I take every call that's called to me and answer them on needed basis. Sometimes I may not be able to answer them immediately, but I answer every call. And we're really moving forward with our production, with our PEA, and we're very excited. We're going to be doing an NI 43 resource completion estimate in the next short while. So that's even going to prove up our reserves even better. And we're all excited, and we're gung-ho, and we work 7 days a week. That's it.
Awesome.
Brilliant. This is some unmatched transparency and responsiveness, Martin. So everyone appreciates it. We are very thankful for your, again, transparency and responsiveness and your insight as well. Thank you so much. And thank you very much to everyone who tuned in to watch the video. We'll see you all in the next one. Cheers.
And thank you very much. I really appreciate all your interesting questions. And I hope we were able to give a better insight of where we're trying to go to all your viewers. So thanks again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mike.